news shouldn't lean one way or another. And so Comp Loudy really let David have that opportunity to showcase what he wanted to about our industry, to really try and change the narrative, because it is a positive thing. It's a benefit delivery system. I think people tend to forget that. It's a benefit delivery system. It's not anything else for that. And it's intended for the employer and the injured worker.
Welcome to It's Settled, the Amitros podcast. Each episode, we're going to dig into the humanity in workers' compensation and insurance claims, exploring the stories of injured people and those who support them, as well as the good work professionals are doing in the industry. And now, I invite you to join me, Sean Dean, General Counsel at Amitros and the host of It's Settled. Now, it's settled. Let's get on to the episode. Couldn't be happier to have Kristen Chavez here this morning, president of Kids Chance of California. Full disclosure, you're going to be listening to this for viewers at any time, but it's on a Friday, and Kristen agreed, who is on the West Coast, obviously, to be here at a very early hour for her. So thank you, Kristen, for joining us. It's such an early hour.
Of course, that's what coffee is made for. So.
Well, I was going to ask you. I asked many of the guests if they do have a beverage. Green tea is my drink of choice, so that's what I'm having. So what do you got going?
Coffee. So I am a coffee girl. I love home coffee more than any coffee out there. Then I go the McDonald's route. I love McDonald's.
That's kind of interesting. And obviously we focus on workers' compensation and injured individuals, but now I'm terribly curious. I got to know, typically the home coffee people, I don't want to say coffee snobs. I'm not putting labels on it, but usually they drink really high quality coffee and they have a press and stuff like that. Oh no. Okay.
No, I'm the Target brand with a good old 12 cup pot. That you make it at your own. No, I'm not the single cup person. No, I'm like, donut shop coffee, whatever the brand is. And
all right.
Yeah, just make
Fair enough. But you're not like a tablespoon of Folgers instant coffee.
No, not that either. Not that. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So for all the viewers out there who wanted to hear about barista skills, I'm gonna transition to work comp.
Okay.
And I've known you in the industry for years and have sort of seen you all over the place. You're one of the busiest, most influential, one of the most visible folks in the comp industry in such a positive way. How I know a little bit about your background, but just let folks know, how did you get involved in the comp industry? Like, did it find you? Did you find it?
Oh, no, it found me. So how I started was about, we're going on, this will be the 18th year in the industry. Okay. So it started with a 1-month project. My mom worked for Work Comp Central. She was the office manager for David. And he was like a 3-person company at that time. And he was creating his calculators. So a lot of the work comp professionals in the industry, especially California, use the calculators that are on the website. So he was building those and he needed all the data put into them. And so she's like, hey kid, you're going to come do this month project. Me and David hit it off. He needed some other things built. And EDX was one of them. And so that into customer service. And he's like, hey, the phone's ringing, answer it. Then after that, any department he wanted to create, I was there to help him do it. And so that's how I learned so much about Work Comp Central. That's why I knew where every bolt needed to be.
Gotcha. So when you got involved, sort of by accident, what drew you? Obviously you've stayed 18 years later.
Yeah.
So what drew you to work comp and what has kept you here?
So probably I'd say the first 10 years was a job. At that I had 2 kids, 3 somewhere in there. The third guy came along. So it was a job. It was a great company. David was amazing to work for. So that's kind of what kept me. And then once he kind of had that shift with the Comp Loudy Awards, I know, those, once he started having that vision, I fell in love with that concept. So before I was very ops oriented with Work Comp Central. So I just cared about how we operated, what we did, we provided to the service. To Comp Loudy really made me start getting involved into the industry. And I don't know if anybody knows about Comp Loudy, but that's an event that we do, or they do every year, and injured workers are even involved.
That's awesome.
They attend the
I was
event.
hoping you'd talk a little bit about Comp Loudy and David DePaula's legacy.
Yeah. And with that, getting the injured workers to attend the event, to come and participate, to be on panels, to the pictures that we have of them walking around with the other attendees, to the later years, even after David's passing, that they would, the injured workers would start bringing vendors to possibly sponsor. One set up a call, was like, hey, I know that the people that set up my ramps in my home, they could use more business, they should be, so let's have a discussion with that. So that the injured workers really started engaging in it as well. Was really when I think I fell in love and really got to understand our industry and how much good we do. Especially with, on the news publication side with Work Comp Central, we're always, fraud is out there. Yep. It's regulators control everything, which is not, they're just doing what they think is best as a whole. They have to look at the whole picture. So again, we're just reporting on that too, that there's so much positivity in our industry. There's so many companies out there doing good things. And they do try out there. I know, again, it has a negative concept, or, David, I showed David an episode of SpongeBob about workers. Did you know there's a SpongeBob workers compensation?
No, I'm going to have to look it up now.
You will. And I showed him it, and it puts a negative, or that, you're just going to get money for a minor injury. And that's not what it was intended for.
Was someone injured at the Krusty Krab?
Yep. SpongeBob was. Yeah. Yeah. So you'll have to look it up. I'm like, it's been a while since I've talked about it, but that's
you don't know the episode number? Come on, Kristen.
And I think he gets a splinter or something, and then they say Squidward tells him like, oh, you can get workers' compensation, and he's like, workers' compensation, and they like put like these like sparkles and everything of like, oh, and you get paid for, and so it's like the media puts this stigmatism and this, this idea in the minds of people that don't understand it. We still, we go to conferences every year to learn about workers' compensation because it's always changing. It's, trying to become a balanced system, because it's always, one leaning one way or not. So, with Work Comp Central, always reporting and not having necessarily, because news shouldn't lean one way or another. And so Comp Loudy really let David have that opportunity to showcase what he wanted to about our industry, to really try and change the narrative, because it is a positive thing. It's a benefit delivery system. I think people tend to forget that. It's a benefit delivery system. It's not anything else for that. And it's intended for the employer and the injured worker. We get to benefit from it. And, so I'm like, I'm sorry, is this too much?
No, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to talk about with you. I was so struck. I was fortunate enough to get to speak last year, and I got to speak about parallels between the COVID pandemic and being isolated and having we all had this sort of shared experience of being, shut in and isolated and potentially going through some difficulties with maybe our work or uncertainty around finances or sickness or illness. And I sort of had this concept of, there are parallels that we can draw as workers' compensation professionals to empathize with injured workers, because they're going through it. Mm-hmm. And we've kind of gone through that shared experience. And I was delighted that that the folks there liked the concept and let me talk about it. But then when I was watching some of the panels, it really is exactly what you say. And it's bringing everyone into the fold and sort of addressing this stigma, I think, to your point, that's been around workers' compensation, where it's this adversarial system. It's an employer not really trusting a Squidward, and I don't think it can be looked at it that way. It is a benefits delivery system, and I think if we can take away some of that sort of bad stigma, it will enhance delivery of vital services to these folks, and it will also, I think, potentially attract others to an industry who have an altruistic point of view and want to help people. I was the same way. Initially, it was a job, and then it was sort of a vocation for me of like, I really want to help people. And that's why I came to Amitros. And that's why I ended up getting involved with Kids Chance, my chapter here in Massachusetts. But you are the president of, I have to imagine, the largest chapter in the country. So how did you get, well, let me back up a little bit. So you worked at Work Comp Central. You got involved with Comp Laude. Where did your work comp career path wind?
I am now with Gallagher Bassett. Very excited about that and loving it. I'm an account executive out here in the Western region for the risk management department. Yes, longest title ever, but I love it. And I have been here 6 months, going on 6 months. Love, still very involved with Work Comp Central. Yvonne has me, plugged into Comp Laude. Very grateful for that because she knew my passion for it. So now out here learning the TPA world and Gallagher Bassett, and very excited. The team's very welcoming. Everything that I kind of heard about Gallagher Bassett has been true. Awesome. So I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Very cool. So now to fast forward a little bit to your current role as president of the chapter in California. Yes. I'm curious how you came to get involved with Kids Chance. It's an organization that's so near and dear to me, and I really want to spend some time talking about it. But I would love to know your path that led you to Kids Chance of California.
Yeah. So 2015, David. So again, I fell into it, and very happy I did. One of the best things that I could have fallen into. So 2015, maybe a little bit before that, David started getting involved. Obviously, who couldn't, like you said, love this organization, especially that it's something for our industry. So he was starting to get involved, seeing what he could do. And then he passed away in July of 2016. And with his involvement, what he was trying to do, Kids Chance of California created the David DePaulo Memorial Scholarship. And so with that being the company, the liaison between the company and Kids Chance of California, and then me learning more about it and what it did, and that they were so gracious enough to create a scholarship. They could have just made a donation, or they could have but that there's a scholarship, and they wanted to do something that would create a memory for him and keep him, keep his,
legacy. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Going on. And so that's great. And actually this year we brought in his daughter. She's going to help me chair it since, she has that DePaulo name.
So cool.
So she's getting involved in another young person we're trying to bring into the industry. So then I fell in love and, not networked, advocated, did everything I could, raised money, talked to people about it, that then was on a committee. And then they said, hey, would you like to throw your hat in the ring for it? And I was like, sure, why not? And then was appointed. And it's a 6-year term. So the last 2 years, I was president-elect for 2 years. Yep. I'll be president for 2 years, and then I'll be immediate past president. And each one has their different duties to come in. So so it's a nice, you get to learn a lot about the organization, the kids. I do have to say, this last year we awarded 51 students.
Wow.
I know. So we're really looking at ways to get more, because before, when it was like 10 students, 20 students here, that's something you can kind of like, okay, that's something I can do, but trying to get 51 students together. So we're really putting our heads together to do student engagement. We put it on some of the committees to take on that task because we do want to help them. And we're looking, as the transitions, we're looking at actually, that's a mentor program. I'm actually a mentee. I just had a meeting. I'm going through the mentee process as well, but we're looking at partnering together possibly to mentor the students that come through Kids Chance of California, so that one, we're giving them more resources that, to help them in their lives, but also show them the wonderful world of workers' compensation, and that it's not just insurance. It's not, you're just going to be sitting at a claims desk. There's so many areas in our industry: marketing, digital, attorneys, doctor, like there's just so many different areas. It's that there's opportunities, and it's an industry that does care. So I'm hoping that we can kickstart that program and really offer more to the kids as well as to the industry. So
that's awesome. I love the tie-in between Kids Chance and something I wanted to talk to you about, promoting awareness for the next generation of workers' compensation professionals. But I'll back up, and my apologies. I should have, for folks who are listening who don't know what Kids Chance is, it's a national organization with state chapters. And I believe there's only one state that doesn't have a chapter at this point. But the mission behind Kids Chance is to provide educational scholarships to kids of parents who were either catastrophically injured or died in a work-related injury. And for me, there's no better cause that I could get behind. And I willingly love to donate my time and energy and money and effort into pushing forward that mission. I'm on the board of directors. We're a much smaller state. Obviously, California is the biggest state in the country, but we're talking like 5-6 scholarships, and that's a big deal for us. And we're looking to grow, but that's incredible. I can't even imagine how many applications you get or support staff you need to vet everything there. That's awesome. Do you have any, if you can think of it, if you can't, that's okay, any particular student or situation come to mind with Kids Chance that impacted you?
There's so many that, what these kids have had to happen, most of them to where it's losing a parent, or, I have a student that lost both of his parents to work-related injuries, and that, they still have positivity behind them, that they're willing to come, that they're so grateful.
I was going to say that they're always so incredibly thankful for the scholarship they get.
Yeah. And, being the parent of teenagers, you're like, what, kid, like, I always ask them to watch these kids because, your kids can be ungrateful sometimes.
Oh, I'm with you. I love my kids more than anything. I have an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. So
okay. Right.
I'm with you. And it's hard. Yeah. You want them to know there's another side of life that's much more difficult than they have it. It's hard for them to see, but I'm with you. We get notes all the time about our Kids Chance kids' progress in school, and having them indicate what the scholarship means to them. And sometimes it's the difference between them going or not going, or getting books or not. It's again, I can't think of any better cause that I'm involved with at the moment that gives me more satisfaction and joy than to help these kids out. And to me, it's an extension of what the workers' compensation is. The system is. It's to help people. And you brought up something interesting about there's a tie-in between that and potentially promoting the goodness that work comp has to offer. And I'm curious, as someone who's been in the industry for 18 years yourself, clearly people are retiring in our industry. Folks are phasing out. There's a lot of subject matter that these folks have. I mean, I think of someone like David. I mean, imagine just everything that was up in his head. And you were lucky enough to be mentee, you were a mentee and you got to soak some of that up. But, think about all the folks that are transitioning out. What can we do? What can we put in place? What are your thoughts on getting folks excited and recruiting the next generation of work comp professionals?
Well, and that's a great point, because you don't know what you're missing until it's gone. I was very fortunate to be in David's presence and to being, around him, to see him as a leader. He made me who I was as a leader, as that, he was very much we don't hire people. We're not the experts. We hire the experts and let them do their job. And what we hired them to do, there's no, why would you hire somebody that's an expert and then tell them how to do things or what, but there's so much I didn't learn from him that I wish I would have, now that I'm learning it on my own now. So my thing is like how, and I'm sure you've talked to Bob Wilson, he has his thoughts and everything of, I think we have to figure out a way. And, I know comp laude is the reason or trying to do it, but we have to change the narrative of the industry. Otherwise people are not going to even look at it. They're not going to think about it. They're going to have there's always a negative thought about it, or it's a payday, that it's a payday for somebody. And it's not. Again, it needs to be changed that it's a benefit delivery system, and how exciting. I don't want to use the word exciting because, we've gone through different things. Because like when we give at Comp Laude, we recognize injured workers. Well, we used to call it the Injured Worker Award. And they're like, well, what are you awarding them on? Best injury? And it's like, no. Right. But the point of that recognition was that they used the system in the way that it was intended. It's recognizing their team, their case management team, the companies that were to help them get through their injuries. Because some of those people, their stories, the kids at Kids Chance, have suffered a loss. The injured workers have had their lives. They went into work that day thinking they were going to leave at the end of their shift and go on with their lives. And their life has been changed forever. With Comp Laude, and a story I have that I wanted to share was, so the awards process isn't a 90-day thing. It is a full 6-month process. Yeah. And the reason why I'm telling this is, so there's 3 stages. There's the pass and fail route. So right away you look at but there's a committee that does that. And then there's the vetting stage. And the vetting stage is where they've made it through the first round. They've been vetted. And so the vetting committee calls the nominees. And even the injured workers have to go through that process. They're just not guaranteed recognition. So they go through that. And that committee hasn't changed in years because people love that process, because we try to give each one an injured worker. And when they talk to those injured workers and hearing their stories and, and then case managers, even attorneys, you hear their stories and why they're so passionate about what they do. Again, it just renews you, gives you a fresh breath of fresh air. But the story I want to tell is actually somebody called me and said, Kristen, I know we want to award injured workers and we never usually fail them, but I can't let this person pass. They're not in the right state of mind. And I actually think you should call the nominee and tell them. And so I did. And that person's like, we never would have known. And they got the case manager on the phone and then helped that person and said, you know what, their story is back to the vetting person. They said they have a great story. And I think if they weren't in this state of mind, I would have loved to have passed them, because what they've accomplished, but where they are, and who knows what we did to help that person. But again, there is a point to that. But I was just that story just always sticks out to me because our industry cares. There's so much good, but then we still look out for each other.
You could have, in that instance, you could have easily just dismissed them and called them up and said, you didn't get picked, or emailed them, but instead,
or the vetting person could have just failed them, just clicked a button and said failed, and never, who knows what that injured worker, but that everybody took those steps to help that injured worker, because again, they didn't choose to be there. An unfortunate thing happened, and that, and that we all took it. And that's the kind of things I want to highlight of what our industry can do. And again, it's not just a claims desk, and I'm not trying, the claims people, they have a job before them. So I'm not saying that don't go that route, because we need those people as well. They are amazing claims adjusters. Everybody in our industry is pretty amazing at what they have to do, what they have to work through on a daily basis. But there are a lot of opportunities, and I think we need to really change the narrative. And I don't know how to make it more attractive to the younger generation.
Well, something you said that I think is striking, and that I haven't really heard. So to me, it's a fresh idea, and it's so obvious, and many of the best ideas are just right there. No one picks up on them. Is you talked about the variety of different roles in the workers' compensation ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm an attorney by trade. Mm-hmm. I used to do Medicare set-asides. And then I came over, and I'm general counsel for a company who professionally administers these Medicare set-asides after the settlement. So we take care of these workers' compensation injured individuals post-settlement. That's just one little tiny thing, but you said it. I mean, you rattled them off. You said, hey, there's sales, there's marketing, there's IT support, and then you have an entire medical side of things. You have case managers and nurse case managers and physicians. And then you have the legal side of it. You mentioned attorneys, and there's ALJs, and there's support staff for those attorneys.
Marketing for those firms.
I mean, on and on, you could go down a rabbit hole, but I love that you brought that up, because I think, and this is just my opinion, when you say insurance or workers' comp, you think of an individual in a small dusty room behind a desk with a file, and it's an adjuster. And you're right. I mean, it's so not that way, but one, you're 100% correct. And the adjusters out there are doing God's work too. I mean, they're amazing. Without them, there would be no workers' compensation system. But if someone has a particular skill set, even like, I'm making it up, they want to go into the mental health field, there's still a spot for them within workers' compensation. Or if someone's a creative and wants to do graphic design, there's a spot for them in the workers' compensation industry. So I love that. I love that concept. I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. I mean, on the graphic design, you can either go work corporate. There are corporate jobs where there's companies, or you can, there's other sides where, there's so many, mom and pop shops out there in the different spaces too, that you can, if you want that feel, and there's so many organizations out there that you can get a feel like, okay, I want to try graphic design as an independent contractor, but work with, because there's so many different size of companies in our industry as well. I went from a mom and pop, I think at the most when we're Comp Central, we had 29 employees, to now corporate world. I'm like, oh, this is a completely different world. They're both great, but you get different experiences on both sides, where corporate, you have levels and different things, and mom and pop, you get like, you might be taking out the trash tomorrow and then
wearing a lot of different hats.
Yeah. So, and again, and you can try it. And, this industry, as big as it is as small as it is. And, many people wanting to help other people, and, welcoming, and, you could try different states. Every state is its own thing.
I know.
So I think it's really getting how, maybe I should reach out to Bob and figure out how we really change the narrative. But again, we would necessarily even need Hollywood and that world to change and help it. Cause whenever.
Sure. Oh, and pop culture, well, you called it. I mean, I think you're 100% right. In popular culture and even the sentiment amongst lay people, they think workers' compensation is, they look at it, I think, two ways, negatively and incorrectly. They look at it as someone trying to get benefits when they're not entitled to them, or it's the employer looking at the employee as, they're trying to pull one over on us. So it's entirely adversarial. I mean, and not to keep talking about SpongeBob, it's the SpongeBob Squidward getting hurt. And I think it is unfortunate because it's so not what it is. I mean, I've talked to countless injured individuals and their counterparts to their workers' compensation claim, and they have nothing but amazing things to say about the support that they got and the things that were so far above and beyond their job duties that they went out and, I mean, going to their house and bringing them food. I mean, really stuff that gets down to the core of humanity, of people helping people. And I certainly don't have all the answers, but I think you hit the nail on your head when you said, change the narrative. And I think people at their core, I at least like to give them the benefit of the doubt and think that they want to do good to help people. And if you want to do good to help people, there's no better industry than workers' compensation in my mind, because that's what you're doing.
Right. And so really quick on the point too of think about it. And I'm going to keep doing the SpongeBob thing too, and not to do it. But what ages is that already targeting and planting in children about workers' compensation? That's it. That's targeted towards kids. Because I wasn't watching the episode. I happened to be walking through my house and I can remember, and I stopped because I heard, and they went workers' compensation. Well, like, are these sparkles? And I'm like paying attention now. And it's like, again, it's implanting something of what it's not into children. And children, I mean, how many kids watch SpongeBob? So, I mean, again, how are we going, who are in the industry, going to combat that? That's where, until we change that, and then two, we just really have to push, and maybe Comp Loudy would be the vehicle. I'm not trying to, I'll always push it, but it's one of the ones that does have everybody come to the table at once. And how do we all agree that we're going to showcase the positive? Because if you interview, I've interviewed a lot of people saying, how did you get in? It's like, I fell in, I needed a job, I did this. And how do we get it to where we're getting more people in? Is it getting at the college level? Is it, finding a company that will support in their employees going to colleges and recruiting there, talking about it, finding all the job fairs when they're going on, do a road show, of all the universities across the nation and talking about how amazing our industry is.
I think all those things. And I think even younger than college. I mean, you said it. I promise it'll be my last SpongeBob reference. But if in a pop culture cartoon, kids are getting that message, what does that say about the industry? I wrote an article called "I Want to Be in Workers' Compensation When I Grow Up." And I wrote the article because I love the industry, but I wanted that as a search term in Google. If you Googled that search term before I wrote the article, it didn't exist.
Oh, okay.
Exist in the entire internet. So no one had ever put those words into the internet. Yeah. And I want it now. If you go, I want to be a lawyer when I grow up. I want to be a doctor when I grow up. I want to be a firefighter when I grow up. I want to be an astronaut when I grow up. I want to be president when I grow up. Those are great, lofty goals. But for someone who I haven't been quite as long, 14-ish years. So I have a few years to go. And in an industry I love, I wanted those words on the interwebs because I want a kid someday to search it and go, oh, that's there. Someone's spoken about this.
Right.
But I think you're right. I think it's all those things. I think a road show is a fantastic idea to elementary, secondary, colleges to get the word out, because everyone I talk to on this podcast, including my own experience included, it's the industry found you. Mm-hmm. You fell into it.
Yeah.
It came at you. You didn't have a choice. I want folks to have an informed choice to go, that's where I want to go.
So can I give you a person that I think would be interesting for you to talk to? Do you know
Jeff? Absolutely. This is what this is about.
Do you know Jeff Adelson?
I don't.
Yeah, he is an attorney out here in California. He actually wanted to come into the industry. He's an individual that I think you should talk to and hear his story. Okay. And he talks about it. So he's with Adelson McLean. I hope I said that right. Jeff, don't hurt me if I didn't. But I can share his contact info. I mean, he's on LinkedIn. He's a great gentleman. He's a wealth of knowledge. David knew him, and that's how I was introduced to him. Great guy. But yeah, hear his story of he had the intention of coming into the industry. That's
great. I love it. I mean, I speak with folks like Mark Pugh and Claire Musselman and you. And when I think of, that's like the triumvirate of the work comp, the Titans. And it's always the same thing. It's like, well, and that's great that I'm the same way. It kind of found us, but I want to flip the script and find other people. So I'll definitely reach out to Jeff and make contact with them. Could you talk a little bit about transitions?
Yeah, let's talk about that. But really quick, I want to flip it where we're doing talks with people and they're like, yes, I found the industry. Like I heard about it in college, or yes, I was, I heard about it at blah, blah, blah. Yes. So hopefully we'll start seeing that if we do, we really get a good campaign going, but I love it. Yeah. Let's talk about the transitions. Another great thing that I'm so excited.
Yeah. Tell us what it's about and what the mission is.
It's been great so far. So I did that. So it's a mentor-mentee program.
I know. So Melissa here, who runs our marketing programs, involved in it. I don't know a whole lot about it. I looked real quick. I looked it up on LinkedIn, and it talked about the mission is to promote workers' compensation and to recruit the next generation of individuals. So I figured.
And anybody, where you are in your career. So one, if the project that I talked about before does go through, I wanted to understand what the kids would be going through. But two, I mean, I have 18 years of experience in the industry, but I know I have so much to learn. So that's why I'm doing the mentee. So, and it's a great thing. You fill in an application. When you want to have to talk about yourself, I think I probably the worst job ever. I was just like, I am blah, blah, blah. But you put in your information and then it gives you a database of people that have been vetted on their side. And it's a vetting process. And then you can it tells you how much time they can give, what they do, what their experience, and you can select your mentor. But on top of it, you then also have an executive, I'm going to mess it up, but you have somebody that is also kind of, if you need additional resources or whatnot, but it's to really help you find who you are, what you want to accomplish, and just have that, resource. Cause I never would have thought about, finding a mentor, like the intention. I have mentors. I have a lot of great mentors in the industry that, especially after David died, picked me up, put me under their wing, and did a lot across all sides. I've been very fortunate that Work Comp Central was kind of like the median. So I had friends all across, and they've been great. Again, our industry, for anybody that's listening, our industry is great. And we do a lot of good. We're not perfect. That's the biggest thing, is we're not perfect. But with it, you get to select it. So I'm at the stages right now where I did the application and now I have to go search the database. But with it, as anybody, you have to have the intent. And if you don't have the intent, it's not going to work for you. And so that's where I need to put my intent and go find my mentor. But I am very excited when Melissa talked to me about it, when Mark, I saw it at the conference and what it's trying to do. It's like, yes, that's what we need. We need, and this is probably going to be bad to say, but we'll see. We need a fraternity. We need that, bond, like this thing of our industry and fraternity. I don't know what I'm trying to say with fraternity, but you know what I'm saying? Like people 20 years after they're out of college have a fraternity. They go to their fraternity stuff. It's a brother, connection, community, kind of thing that, you can kind of link yourself to, if that makes sense. And so, I think that the transitions, because again, you get your mentor, you create that, you see other people that are in the program, you can eventually then maybe become a mentor. And again, it's different ways to get out there, and you're just going to see these different generations of, I'm sure, going through it, new people coming in that you're like, yay, come to our world. And, get to see different sides of somebody that's 18 years in, that I, going to get to see different, being at a company that you think knows everything, because we were reporting on all 50 states, knowing all what's going on in 50 different ecosystems. I still have so much to learn. For myself, as well as for my current employer, for my future self, for that. So, yeah.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. We'll end on this. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm going to do it. So it could be your 18-year-old self. It could be any 18-year-old. Maybe they're coming thinking about going into college, coming out of high school. What would you tell them? What would be your elevator pitch to say work comp is for you?
All right. Work comp is for you.
And here's why.
Here's why. Let's see. Oh, goodness. I hope I do this good. You can make a career out of workers' compensation, no matter what your passion is, and still do good things for people, that have had unfortunate things happen to them. You can make somebody's day. You can, in treating them like a human. We are an industry that has that still human capacity at it. And no matter what your passion is, if you're a marketing major, if you're a business, if you're a major, if you're an attorney, that you will find a community, you will find a passion, and you will find good people, and you will get to help people. And there's probably not many other industries where you can accomplish all of that in one place.
Full stop. I could not have said it better than how you just articulated it. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You sold me. I have so many ideas about how to spread the good word about what a dynamic industry we're in, and would love to have you back. And I'm even thinking maybe with a group of people, and maybe some non-workers compensation folks who are considering it or don't know anything about it, to talk to them about our industry. And it would be great to have you back. I appreciate it. It's settled. We just had Kristen Chavez, president of Kids Chance of California, on the It's Settled podcast. Can't thank you enough for joining us. Would love to have you back again.
Yes, I'm in. I love it too. We're going to get some new people in, let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I didn't get to thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so appreciative of it,
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this episode of It's Settled, the Amitros podcast. For more information and episodes, you can visit us at our website at amitros.com. That's ametros.com. Or head over to iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. We hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to sharing more stories of people overcoming their workplace accidents and bodily injury claims, and those who are working hard to make a difference for them. So it's settled. We'll see you next time.